Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Cause Monarchy cast this fine Saturday morning. I hope you are all having a wonderful day. And if it's already Sunday for you, or it's another day entirely because you're watching this on a different day of the week than I uploaded it, you're just weird. I don't know what to tell you. You hear that, Jack Yelansky? You're weird! In the top right, we have the TheNightFox, Midnight Green Zerg, going up against Slyzor's Scozy in the bottom left. I'm going to say Glacial, but it was Electric Blue. Yeah, it's a hard color to guess. I think Scozy are definitely the hardest color guess race right now because their town center does not have a lot of player color on it. And that's not going to change until we get a custom model, pretty much. So there you have it. And it does look like Slyzor will be going Biotic with the Radix open, so that will be a pretty standard opener here. Slyzor, a newer player. The TheNightFox, one of our stronger, I would say, like, if he was playing competitively, I'm pretty sure he would be in our top 20, you know, part of our class 2. But he's taking a break on the competitive side, and occasionally he plays like 1v1s, but at a more casual rate, you could say, than the average Joe that we often feature on our channel here. We usually feature only the homies that try pretty hard, or are certainly playing a lot of games and participating actively in like the tournament space and stuff. And no shade to the TheNightFox for not doing that. He's doing what he finds best for his enjoyment of the game, and he plays a lot of games too. It's not just Cause Monarchy, so. Cool to see him participating here. I think this might be the only game he plays competitively, but I mean, maybe he'll drop a comment in the description here in the comment section to shed some light on what his habits are gaming-wise if he so chooses. But I just happen to know he is a gamer, that's for sure. So he coming out here with a Larvosk pool into what looks to be a second Larvosk. He already has enough gas for it just about. And yeah, Zets are going to be moving across the map as a scouting force. We got Slyzor doing his best to get a first unit Cardinal. That's a little bit different, and he did go for a 1 Radix into Expand before the first Radix was even done, I think. A bit of a different style than we typically see. A third Radix now, but off to the side. I guess the idea is... I guess his first unit was actually the Missionary. Okay, never mind. Just me being a little bit silly about it. I thought that was a Pilgrim moving across the map, so I didn't even go and check on it. But indeed, that is not his first unit. His second unit was the Cardinal. We're on a map called Axiom. This should give people a lot of almost whiplash about, like, oh my god, this is such a blast from the past, such an old map that was made by BiddyBeat. One of our first best maps, or first good maps, you know, like we had Derelict, we had Axiom, we had, maybe you could argue Sideshow, but most people probably wouldn't say so. Man, that Radix getting owned at the last second. Oh my god, he's going to kill 3 Pilgrims? No, thankfully the Cardinal kept that Pilgrim alive. That was pretty dire there. Slyzor losing 2 Pilgrims. I don't think he should have lost either one. But those 2 Zets proving pretty effective there for the TheNightFox. And it looks like he's going to go up to 4 larvae on 1 base. He's got a lot of larvae floating over here, but he hunts down the Missionary and puts it to rest. So, okay, fair enough. We'll have a grandstand coming up here pretty soon for the defense here for the Scozy. But I don't think he's going to be needing it versus Zerg, at least not versus the pool units, right? A lot of Zets could change the game, and of course the TheNightFox is going to go and expand. I mean, he can't possibly spend all of the money that he's got. It's just not possible. But yeah, Axiom is a map that we had a long time ago as one of our meta maps, one of our earlier solid map contenders there. Certainly more timeless than, I would say more timeless than Derelict, although Derelict is sort of survived into the modern age with other variants. But if you think about how Axiom turned into Maxium, and then it turned into Radium, and then Maximus, there's a lot of maps for Cause Monarchy. Now, this year comes the engagement, a lot of Cardinal healing going on here right now, but no pull on the jump there for the splash damage. The Grandstand going to be really hard for the Zerg to actually tear down. Those 2 Zets are going to put on a lot of damage, though. They ignore most of the armor of the Grandstand, which you can't say the same about the Quads. And so it will end up going down. No, saves with 5 health. Kind of outrageous. I think if the Zets had hit that way sooner and the Quads were busy dealing with the Biotic units, that would have been supreme targeting there from the TheNightFox. But nonetheless, I mean, he crashes through the Cardinals, which are dealing that pretty important damage there to heal all of their allies in a radius. Hydra then coming up as the transition point for our Zerg player. And honestly, I wouldn't blame you if, as Slyzor, you just put a Chantry down right here in the natural choke. It's pretty good, and it's definitely something that would benefit you here. I actually haven't, what would you say? I haven't adjusted the power balance of the Chantry. My thinking is that you'll need to stay within its domain for a solid, you know, like 5 or 10 seconds before you actually benefit from the cloak. And I don't know exactly if that's going to be the final cut of it, but that's the thrust of it, I think. And so units just rallying past the Chantry won't benefit from the cloak immediately. Probably the same will be true for the Silver Soul. You know, we'll just have it be a consistent mechanic. The Silver Soul's benefit will just be that it's something you can do while mobile. You can bring to your army or whatever. Gauntlet coming up now for Slyzor. That's going to unlock some more units for him. Particularly the Vicar is a powerful anti-pool device, which is part of why I think the TheNightFox is already pivoting away from that. Clearly with his eyes on Bactyls, he's got 6 Hydras in production, upgrading his Hydra's Den. Cosmonarchy's got 50 units per race on average. Scozy have a little bit less, but also they are waiting for a couple bit more of their units to be implemented. And yeah, let's just say there's going to be a lot of units coming when we start adding the 5th race to the game, which technically has already occurred. So, see my last cast for an announcement about that. I did implement the first Blood Summon unit, which is actually a structure, yesterday. Very cool stuff there. Oh, and also speaking of Biddy and map making, since this is his map, he is working on an installation map. That's right. In Cosmonarchy, you can even make macro maps, 1v1 melee maps, or whatever, inside an installation. I just uploaded some ramps to the installation tiles. I added some north-facing ramps and wide ramps and stuff. So pretty cool. So the first unit actually gets announced. Slyzor trying to engage right on top of these Bactyls, and I think maybe a couple of them even got canceled there because, well, the TheNightFox was aware that a big attack was going to occur. This Cardinal only now decloaking itself. Honestly, that was a lot of power from the Cardinal healing. There is a little bit of a counterattack with the Zets going after the Chantry, but it will not be enough. And all of a sudden, the TheNightFox, you're in a tough spot here. Can't quite stop all these Cardinals from healing. You gotta almost pull your units away and try to focus fire. Oh, he says, I forgot to focus fire, LOL. Well, I guess he's already aware of what's going on. 13 Hydras get queued up. Maybe should have done that before typing, but he's just reacting. He's just reflexively realizing what's going on. And honestly, the missionaries are wasting a lot of their DPS onto the hatch. This is not the most capitalization Slyzor could have taken onto this. And so the Drolets will evacuate. Slyzor has a pretty monumental economic lead off the back of this hit, and of course off the back of his general steady worker production. He's starting to add Vicars. Some units are starting to wander forward. 4 Vicars, yeah, this is going to be a pretty big deal. But the Hydra stack is enough that the Cardinals will fall before the Vicars sync up. And that does feel like a pretty big issue for the Scozy army if they want to finish the Zerg off here. I hope that Slyzor's planned a little bit of a transition after this because the Hydra stack is real. And the larva count, it's something that was never properly addressed inside the main base. Slyzor never did any drops or raids or anything like that to kill the Larvosks. So TheNightFox has plenty of production. And you got to be able to recognize, okay, my opponent probably has a lot of larva. Probably going to pull the trigger on a bunch of units. I don't mind sticking around with the cloaked Vicars, you know, wandering around or whatever. But yeah, the Ovaleth is needed now for the TheNightFox. You got to assume that's coming. So some of your wounded units can come back to the Chantry and heal. A lot of idle workers over here, so maybe that economic lead a little bit less significant, but the third base is already almost done. You know, the Dyad building it faster than a Pilgrim could. No power building yet for Slyzor. Going for the Conduit. It's interesting that we have this sort of tier 1 focus out of the Scozy player here. A lot of more veteran Scozy would look at this and say, no, you need your tier 2 by now. But he's kept it pretty, you know, pretty smash, I would say. Pretty aggressive. So I'm not too worried about what he might be planning there. Here we go. The Zets are on the way. They're just going to immediately take this landlock out. No defensive measures in place. So that's going to go down. Fat chance that that ends up getting rebuilt in, you know, quick degree. There are Dyads here, though, so I guess he could power build it with all of those. Got a lot of Hydras. Some IZs as well. And immediately we go into Xylode tech, interestingly enough. So maybe Fontus for Slyzor. That might be what he's thinking here. I would love to see him power build with more Dyads. I don't know where all of his other Dyads went. Oh, he's sending them back up to build more production structures, it looks like. And hey, that's fair. That's fine. Doesn't look like he's got any rich caps or gas caps yet. But he will still add prosceniums. They don't cost the same kind of Vespine. Oh, he cancels them out, actually. I think he did want the Xylodes instead. No, he... What? Okay, he misspot the Xyload, or he's canceling. We're not sure. We're not quite sure what he wants, but maybe he's like, I have too many minerals. I need to make Aphorists right now. This game was played on the 2nd of August on our pre-release patch, so this is with some of the balance adjustments post-Acropolis 4, but not all of them. For example, the dyads don't move like flyers anymore on the most recent version, and so they don't get stuck feeling floaty or whatever. There's a couple of other small tweaks and changes here and there, but I think maybe we've already, by this point, upgraded the Ascozi UI at least. So for the player who's playing as Ascozi, all of this user interface is actually green. Thanks to DF helping out with that. I did tell him, yeah, I'm also going to need red for the next race. And for those wondering what the Koguri are going to have, it'll be like a light gray, I think. Light or dark, I'm not sure yet. We'll see what fits best and looks best. So this Ascozi army, not all of the units are cloaked. A little bit of an awkward position there. Zets are going to go in for a run-by. They see that the base has been reset. Grandstand in place. But the TheNightFox has been allowed to amass a pretty heavy army here. And honestly, knowing that Bactyls were on the way, I actually really prefer that Slyzor kept to the Xyload for a Fontis here. I don't really think you're going to get much value from Aphorist. You already have Vicar for Splash. And Aphorist Splash is much better, admittedly, but it's like you're doubling down on your splash damage here, but you're not doing anything about the incoming damage that you're going to be sustaining. At least as far as I can tell. Maybe he'll just keep Vicar pulling to preload the damage block from the Bactyls, but I really think this composition doesn't win against what the TheNightFox has. Third base is going to be infiltrated here. Avalef is in position to detect any units that don't yet engage, but it looks like they all basically have... Oh, that Avalef is going down immediately, but here we go. The big attack from the Bactyls. Is there enough over here to actually stop this attack force? It feels like I don't think... Well, he's going to kill the hatch, so at the very least Slyzor did that. But think about what you're doing here. You're trading down your military so stupendously low that it does feel like this is a real bad situation for the Ascozi. How are they going to amass enough units to trade back against these Zerg armies? Proscenium's coming up at the third base. Slyzor knows he just needs a lot more units. But does he have the right kinds of units? Taking a fourth base at 6 o'clock, I like that his tempo behind his expansions and stuff, but it almost reminds me, I guess he is a Terran player, right? It almost reminds me of how a Terran would first approach this, right? Trying to move across the map, get some damage. It's not how we've seen Ascozi be played in Acropolis. It's not how we've seen Ascozi prioritize an army comp in a lot of different cases there. But double grandstand at the 6 o'clock, so it will be somewhat defended from run-bys, which is good. Hatch gets put down again. The TheNightFox going for a double expansion. How's his tech progression going? Going right into the Ulgorg. I saw 12 Zoryus, by the way. That's coming down. Looks like a Drolef following as well. Maybe a proxy hatch. I'm sure it's a mistake, but, you know, if you do that, you might as well proxy hatch. That's all I'm saying. And we don't have a lot of gas income just yet for the Zerg, especially after the third base gets knocked out, but he can still go for some kind of engagement here. He's got the army that's much bigger, and the Ascozi army is not in a position to really punish this. Some of their units getting pulled off to the side. Unintentional or not, it might be a good flank. Grandstands are starting to falter, though. You really got to watch out for the Bactyl bounces here. Here comes the engagement from the east. Trying to give him a little bit of a right-hand uppercut. Most of the Zoryus have already been bled off by the front line, so this is actually going to be a pretty good way to tie up a lot of the Bactyls in the back line. Very solid initial hold here from our Ascozi, but the Bactyls are now recalibrating, refocusing. We got a couple door in and out. That's going to really even the odds here because the Bactyls will struggle to break them down, especially since there's only one Zoryus, so it's not like you've got a lot of armor end with this comp. 9 more Zoryus being made. And a big float of gas now could go for tier 2, but the shoe's a little bit on the other foot. If Slyzor was able to get some more of his prized possessions, the door in and out, I think there's a real chance that not only would he be arrested by the cops in my background, but he would also be able to give a rundown against what the TheNightFox is doing. But notice the pressure has switched up, right? We saw the TheNightFox cancel the third base. We saw the TheNightFox riposte that attack. We saw the TheNightFox, you know, attack again, one big attack on the other side, and he kept a lot of his Bactyls alive while bleeding off his more expendable front line. Now he's going to have Ultra Cores for the next fight. Now he's going to be testing Slyzor's positioning, his right-click ability, you know, his focus fire in that respect. What does Slyzor actually have that's going to help him with the Ultra Core? He's not building any armor end. His long ago he stopped producing Cardinals, so he's mostly making Missionary. as well as occasional Vicar. And Vicars are okay against the Ultra Core, but it does feel like, ooh, we get to see a domain put down over here. That's cool. This structure automatically pulls resources out of all the nodes nearby, so it's a pretty nifty thing. But look at this. The Zets are waypointed actually for 6 o'clock, so they might not end up spotting bottom right. And there are 4 grandstands over here, so the static defense is in a good position. We just have to make sure Slyzor doesn't overreact and show his army, I think, initially. I'd love for him to have some more structures out here. There's some little pockets of buildable terrain you could put like a grandstand out. Well, it looks like the TheNightFox is going to fall away, but there's 2 grandstands up here, so maybe you could still end up defending the space. I just feel like it's a real big danger here. Yeah, the Zets are so good at tearing structures down, so not looking too good right now. Is the domain going to be saved? I think so, because the army was in a good position to deal with that. But at the very least, that's something, right? That is something. He's going to go ahead and power build it with his extra dyad, has his army off to the left-hand side, and it will soon be met by the Ultra Cores. A couple Lake is coming out. Yeah, there's no detection at all for this Ascozi army, so another good choice by the TheNightFox compositionally. I actually can't really call this fight preemptively, but it doesn't look like the Ascozi army is going to be able to deal with the Ultra Cores. And that's my main concern. If you can actually focus these Ultra Cores down, maybe this kind of more lopsided engagement can actually favor the Ascozi here. But, oh, there's 2 of them still alive. I think maybe a third, yeah, a couple more coming in as reinforcements. And the Bacco Lakers combo has erased things up top. What's the transition point for Slyzor? He's got a lot more units here, but no, that's the full wipe on his army, and so he will concede. GG. And with 18 more Hydras in production and a huge chunk of the DPS still present, it's no surprise that the TheNightFox is able to take that game. Good runarounds with the Zets to put the army a little bit out of position. That might have still been one of the better ways that the Ascozi could have accepted that engagement, but it does feel like they lacked detection for the Lakers, lacked armor rend for the Ultras, and really needed maybe some ink blots or something just to take those units over, honestly. Wouldn't have sucked. With that said, we will be back with more Cosmonarchy very soon, so subscribe so you don't miss our daily uploads. I'll see you guys very soon for Weekend Wage as well on the upload date of this video, where Slyzor will be playing as Terran, if all goes to plan. So that's exciting. And yeah, nice little Ascozi match there. GG.